This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are on March the 28th, 2023, and Mike Gormley has sent me numerous guests in the last 6 or 7 years, and he sent me another gem here today, folks. Yes, he sent my way the wonderfully talented and also Muppet oriented Doug Legacy. How do you do, Doug?
I'm well. Good to be here. It's a lovely day for a change. We've been getting a lot of rain down here in Los Angeles, but it's a beautiful day. I just got out of the yard. Just got out of the shower. Actually, I live on a hill, so I was down there cutting down the 4-foot weeds today.
Oh, you guys had rain. We had snowstorms.
Wow.
What trade?
They're having snow here too. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to show you the view out of my back window here. Can you see the mountains back there over there?
Oh, beautiful. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
here
nice.
in Silver Lake, which is kind of in the middle of LA, sort of. It's near Dodger Stadium, but it's an older part of town with a lot of old homes, and the streets aren't not just straight and flat. I live on a real windy, hilly street. I show you my backyard. My peach tree is going nuts.
There you go.
Yeah. What the heck, huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I've never been.
It's such a
never
nice
never been to never been to California. So, but as far as I've been is Toronto, and so anyway, we got connected through Mike Gormley. How did you connect with him? Now, my story with him, I mentioned Toronto. I'm really good friends with actress Lisa Langlois, who was my first guest through him. And she invited me to my first convention, and she and I have remained friends ever since. So how's your affiliation with him?
Mike and I go back from when I worked for Oingo Boingo. I first started out working for them as a keyboard tech. But pretty soon after that, I started, playing accordion or whatever they needed, and mallets, and at one point I got away from that gig, and then I was working for the Tubes and Todd Rundgren, and ended up being a singer for Todd in this a cappella choir he put together. Oh yeah, and it was a lot. It was like I came out to California with a band, in my early 20s, and then because it's so hard to make a living here playing original music, and I tuned pianos. I ended up going on the road with various rock stars taking care of their pianos, and I'd do that for 6 months and come back and try to put the band back together and whatever. But at any rate, I ended up working for Oingo Boingo during the middle of all that, and Mike was their manager. And then later on, after they had done their quote unquote final show, I said, "Well, heck, man, there's this great band, and I've got all this weird music that I've never had a band that could play that stuff." The stuff I was playing around doing gigs was simpler stuff. So anyway, I recruited the Oingo Boingo band and made an album called Doug and the Mystics. That I talked to. Mike was the head of a record company. Maurice, well, not the head, but he was a big deal with Maurice Saraband at the time. I might have these things a little out of order. I don't know. It's all getting to be a blur. But anyway, Mike and I have made a few records together and knew him through Oingo Boingo. That's the short story. And then lately, when I've been, making a new record, and I was trying to find some way to get it out there. I ran into him again, and I joined his LA personal development team, and it's been a good experience.
Fantastic. You mentioned Oingo Boingo. I've had Jay Hernandez on here from Oingo Boingo. I remember them well from the movie Back to School, you know, with
That was in the middle
Rodney
of it
Dangerfield.
all.
Yeah, were you part of that movie?
Yeah, I was not. I was doing other things at the time. Um, I had a similar wacky band to them when they first started out. We were both playing around town, but then I ended up going on the road with rock stars, taking care of their keyboards and stuff for a while the Oingo Boingo grew up, and then I came back and just by accident fell into the Zydeco scene. Although I'd always loved Zydeco, but my wife was an accordionist, and these people wanted to put a Zydeco band with her together, but she was like 8 months pregnant, so I said, okay, there's actually money, so I'll do it. Okay, but I'll just as soon as you're ready, please. I don't really want to play accordion. But that was like 40 years ago, and I've been playing a lot of accordion, and it's been very, very good for me. But
When I think of the accordion, I think of Weird Al Yankovic, who
mm,
was a master at the accordion, you know. Um, did you and your wife have an influence on the accordion, like somebody you looked up to that played it? Because you don't see a lot of it. I know Weird Al plays it all the time, but you don't see it a lot.
yeah, well, Jennifer grew up playing it. She wanted to play guitar, but her father bought her an accordion when she was about 6.
Hmm.
And I just always thought accordion was cool, but I never thought I'd end up playing it ever. But I always loved Clifton Chenier, and you got to have a lot of respect for all the great session players and stuff. And I can't even think of anybody's name right this second, but there's a lot of great accordion players out there. But speaking of Weird Al, the first time I met Al, it was our the final show after we already the band had broken up. I put the Doug and the Mystics together, and then I had to break up the Doug and the Mystics so we could do one more final Oingo Boingo show at the Universal Amphitheater. And Weird Al came backstage and wanted to meet me. It was like, oh, cool, man. And and another time I met him was we were doing this weird show together. It was a pilot for a new "What's My Line," and he was the mystery guest, so they had to put on blindfolds when he was the mystery. I was they didn't have to put on blindfolds for me because nobody knew who I was. But anyway, I still don't know who I am. But uh, I was a professional whistler on that particular show that also played accordion. But anyway, yeah, I've got a great picture I'll send to you of me and Al from that show. But what were we talking about?
Looking through your notes too, I noticed you performed on the Gong Show, and what I find
Oh,
funny is that I've interviewed the unnamed comic
yeah,
last
and coincidentally, on our show was this accordion player,
year.
and she
Uh-huh.
was this funny little old lady, must have been 4'5" or something. I
Hmm.
mean, she made me feel tall, and she was playing Lady of Spain, and she was, pretty good. But the great thing about her was what she didn't realize, I don't think, was her facial expressions. Were just, it was unbelievable. And it was like all you could do from dying laughing. And then when she got gonged, and she was just she just knew she was going to win. She was just they started crying, and then I went over there and told her, "Hey, you're going to make the same amount of money anyway. If getting gongs the same as winning." Then she was like, "Oh, hey, all right." But anyway, yeah, we won that. We won the gong show. We got 3 10s.
There
It
you
was
go.
we played steel drums and did the Stars and Stripes forever. And at one point, I switched to baritone horn at the end of the song, and was dancing around. And I had this top. I had a big beard about out to here, and I was about 22. As we were freaks at that point. That was the Montrose Marching Band, and that was uh, very unusual band that I had in Houston. We were actually getting a little following there, and opening up for like people like Third World and stuff at the local rock club, which is called Liberty Hall at the time in Houston. But anyway, we ended up coming out to California to get better steel drums because we had gotten some steel drums in Jamaica and found out later that we should have gone to Trinidad. Um, if I'd done my homework, I'd been a big fan of steel drums all my life, but I'd never really heard Trinidadian ones for some reason. I'd always heard this old guy playing real funky ones then in Galveston, Texas, where my grandmother lived, and so when I met my buddies Kirk and Jim, and we put the Montrose Marching Band together and won the Gong Show and did all kinds of crazy stuff. And then Jim actually built my recording studio here before he passed away a while back. But yeah, we had this big adventure, went to Jamaica and got some steel drums, and they sounded like cowbells, you know. And I was tuning the piano for it must have been it's either Taj Mahal or Robert Palmer, because the best steel drummer in the world. Oh my God, Robert Greenwich was
Okay.
there, playing steel drums, and I was tuning the piano at the Texas Opry House for them, and he was over in the corner tuning his steel drums, and I went, "Wow, there's a steel drum tuner in the building." And because our drums were going desperately out of tune, and even though I could tune a piano, it's a whole different ball game, man. Tuning steel drums, it's you do these glancing blows with a hammer, and the more sophisticated the tuning of the pan is, the more chime like they sound instead of more like cowbells. So you'll have like in one corner of one note, you'll have the octaves or maybe the fifths or the fourths, and maybe the thirds and the sixth sympathetic harmonics in on the sides and stuff. It varies, and it's more uniform now. In the old days, my first steel drums were real haphazard. There'd be a third, a sixth, a fourth, a fifth. And not even going toward the middle of the pan like on most pans now. It's like you have octaves. A big note, the octave in front of it, and a little tiny note on top of that, and they're all the same note. But these days, and they all go in the circle of fourths and fifths now. But I still think the sweetest ones are the old haphazard ones that have more, distinct or the real unique harmonic structure, and you can, like, when I hear certain pans, I go, oh, that's that one. You can but
Well,
anyway, I'm rambling again, sorry.
no, you're not rambling. The people want to hear you, not me. Do you have an instrument of preference that you like to play best?
I've always played the piano,
Okay.
but I love playing steel drums, but it just hadn't been the same since my partner died, and I haven't played much the last couple of years. But
Yeah.
and I love singing. I consider that an instrument. I would, my whole family sings, and I think it's the Welsh in us, that's what they say. I've got Irish, Welsh, Scottish, French. I mean, they were in Louisiana for quite a while, so who knows? It's a real melting pot there. But I love. I used to love. At one point, I really fell in love with playing the accordion for a while when I was learning a bunch of Irish music. I was a pirate at Disneyland for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on their sub list, but and we, it's another whole story. But and it kind of depends on what I'm into at the time. At one point, I was playing penny whistles, and I really loved playing penny whistles for a while. But the drag about playing penny whistles is I've made a lot of money doing whistling sessions. But if you start playing whistles or penny whistles, all of a sudden you lose your embouchure for whistling. And you can't, and it's like that was one or the other. And I said, nobody's calling me to do penny whistle sessions. So I'm throw that down for a while and keep whistling, I still get a whistling session now, and I love those because most of the time they're SAG. And it's like, you walk in and say, what do you need? Cup of coffee. I'm done. Okay. That's it. And, instead of having to carry in 10 accordions and have them go through, which accordion do you like best? Oh, God. I've got one that they always pick, seems like, every now and then they'll pick another one, but I've got this one that's my moneymaker.
Well, before we get, huh? I was
I was
going to
going to tell you
say,
about my old accordion tuner,
yeah.
but I'm thinking too much all of a sudden.
Well, I was going to say before we get to your albums, I wanted to touch base on some of the films that you've been involved with as well, like The Bucket List and
Mm.
Clean Slate, Any stories about those?
Oh, the bucket list, man, is one of my favorite ones, because I got to do a vocal, and it was something I knew was like right up my alley, because when I was younger, I roadied for ZZ Top for a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, not really roadied. I was just on the crew. I did I drove a truck full of styrofoam boulders and uh, tumble. Anyway, long story short, I'd heard the song a million times, and they needed somebody to sing "Tush" for this movie, and actually, a buddy of mine got recommended for it, but he couldn't hit the high B flat. And I had kind of gone on I'm stopping smoking and drinking and doing everything for a while, and then, for various reasons, and my range got higher all of a sudden, and I could hit that B flat. So yeah, man. Um, and I went in and nailed it in like two takes, and it was I guess they didn't want to spend the money on having the real ZZ Top play it, because they were spending all the money on going to wild and crazy places in that movie. But like Tibet and stuff like that. Anyway, I was in a studio at Capitol, because and part of the reason I was at Capitol too, where I got the gig, because I'd been working at Capitol a bunch with my band doing the Muppet Show stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of stuff happened from just hanging around at Capitol, and that's been a good one. But um, uh, Meathead was there, because he produced the movie. Got what's his name? Oh man, I'm losing it for names.
Well,
Um,
it's funny. I saw Bucket List in the theater, and I mean Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman in that, I mean
yeah,
that's good company for you.
yeah. Anyway, I was in the booth, and I got to take a picture with the producer. Oh God, I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
Mhm.
Meathead from
Oh,
All in the
Rob
Family.
Reiner. Rob
Yeah,
Reiner.
I'm right.
Yeah.
So I got his daughter to take a picture of me with him, and I had this old, Star Trek kind of phone that flips up.
Yep.
It's been a while, and
Yeah.
so she took the phone, and without saving it, she closed the phone, so it didn't get the picture.
Did you ground
That's
her?
it wasn't my daughter; it was Rob's daughter.
Oh, ground her
My daughter.
anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's my big bucket list story, but just for the day anyway. But
What
that was a
about
pretty incredible session, though.
what about Clean Slate with Dana Carvey?
God, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember that movie. I know I did. That rings up. I know I get little checks.
Let me
I can't
see. Let's
remember. Another good one though was when I got to work with Dan Aykroyd and Cheech with
Cheech Marin, yeah.
yeah, with when it was the Christmas for the Cranks, Christmas with the Cranks, and I was teaching, I was trying to teach Dan how to pretend to play accordion, or look like he was playing accordion. And I actually did that for a while, once or twice a year. I teach some movie star how to pretend to play accordion, and and about half the time I'd end up getting some bit little, and this time I did, because no matter how good he was doing it when we were together, he'd get out there in front of the camera and start spazzing out. And it was like, oh man, just take it easy. You don't have to move that much, and don't move your hands up and down the accordion like this. Nobody plays like that. So
I met Dan Aykroyd,
he's a sweetheart, man.
yeah.
Really nice guy.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
Clean Slate you sang Yes Sir, That's My Baby.
Oh, that I can't remember now.
Uh,
That was just a session.
okay.
I mean, nobody was there except for maybe the musical director, whoever that was. That's all I can remember about that one. I think we did that at Sony Studios. If I'm not wrong.
Talk about Muppets Tonight. That's
That was part of the Oingo Boingo thing, because the musical director was Richard Gibbs, who was the original keyboard player for Oingo Boingo, and just a coincidence that I had also worked with Boingo, but the link for me to him was actually my drummer at the time. A great drummer used to be with Korn, Michael Jokum. In fact, he was just in town doing something with Richard this weekend, but we didn't get to hook up, unfortunately. He's living in Colorado now and playing in some rock band. But that was a lot of fun. I got to whistle the theme song for that show too, and that was a nice payday. We had a lot of cool guests, you know. One of my favorite actually was that country wrestler guy. He's so huge. What's his name? Oh man, just he's Mr. Normal guy, but he'll like put on a tutu or whatever, Oh man, what's his name? 5 o'clock somewhere. That guy.
I don't know.
Okay, you'd know his name if I could think of it. I'm sorry.
And of course, Gilmore Girls, you were associated with that too.
Well, the Gilmore Girls was fun. They needed some Zydeco music and a Zydeco band for a party scene in the show, and I ended up getting to write about 3 little, Zydeco songs, which I later developed more and put on some records, for the scene, which got me a little extra dough, and but they didn't want. I wasn't the lead guy, in the band. One of the actors, needed it, so I was, even though I was playing accordion on the recording, I think I was playing something else, and just pretending to on film. I can't remember. Might have been playing rubboard, or maybe he was playing rubboard and I was playing accordion. But I know I had to take the reeds out of the accordion because, whenever you're playing, with a track, you gotta take the reeds out of your accordion and still not like whoa. And still play it like it's hard to play. It's that's the tricky part about it. That's what Dan was having a hard time with, actually, because it's when you take the reeds out of the accordion, it's real easy to push. So it was just kind of going whoa, 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 whoa. It looked like a cartoon accordion. But anyway, so I ended up on the I'm switching back here gears to the Christmas with the Cranks movie. I ended up, all the close-up shots were my hands playing the accordion, so that's how I got to get my SAG paycheck from that movie. So what I had to put on his ring, and I had to put a little wad of toilet tissue or something, underneath the ring because his hands are so much bigger than mine, and wear his shirt, of course, but it had rubber bands to pull the sleeve up. But,
Well,
more money.
your band's called Dr. Soundgood. Now, is that kind of a takeoff of Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood?
The deal was I've been Dr. Soundgood since 1970 something. But that was,
Oh,
it's always
okay.
been,
Then before
it's a,
then, before Motley Crue did their thing.
but I wasn't using it as a band name. I was using it as my piano tuner handle.
Okay.
And but I did have a phone message, call me Dr. Soundgood, kind of thing. But so yeah, but Motley Crue wasn't the original Dr. Feelgood. There was another Dr. Feelgood before that, and I can't remember. That was like Captain Dr. Hook or somebody like that, but I don't remember. But yeah, but I've been in the Zydeco Party band, just by accident for about 30 or 40 years. But the new record that we just made is stretching out a lot more, and there's not hardly any Zydeco on it. No real Zydeco. There's some hints of Zydeco on the record, but I wanted to call it something different because, well, for one thing, we after we had almost finished the record, we were out playing some of the songs, and some people came to see us that had never seen us before, and they came just because of the name, Zydeco Party Band. They wanted to hear some Zydeco. And you guys are going to play some Zydeco or what? Midway through the set, I go, oh, okay, sure. So I played some Buckwheat or whatever, some Clifton Chenier, or one of my Zydeco songs or whatever. But I'm as much as I love playing Zydeco, I want to do more. I want to sound more like Little Feat. I want to sound more like Dr. John and the Meters and that kind of stuff. So that's what Dr. Sanko is about. It's just it's the Zydeco Party Band on steroids, kind of.
There you go. Well, uh, I know you've got some albums dating back, but I want to know what is it you're working on now? Because Mike had said, of course, you did too early on here that you got a new album in the works. Talk about that.
Well, the new album has been out since February 17th now. It's called Lagniappe.
Mm-hmm.
And Atlanta, it's a Creole term that you hear around New Orleans and all over Louisiana. When you say, "How about a little lagniappe with that?" It's like, how about, a little something extra, a little bonus, with that deal, And I ended up writing the song Lagniappe, which I'm real happy with. And we were in the pandemic, in the middle of that. I'd been working 6 or 7 days a week, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And my drummer came over with a bass player I've always wanted to play with, and we ended up, we were just going to jam, with mask on and everything, But that started the record, and it took us a couple of years, just the longest I've ever spent on a record. And I've been working with Van Dyke Parks for a long, long time too. And he was hanging out a lot doing. We were still working on projects, just him and me at the house that he does, orchestrating things for people or doing arrangements for people. And of course, he got involved a little bit, although he didn't want any credit, but he really did help me quite a bit with weeding, editing, and just let's just make this simpler, or let's do something a little different. He was, in my opinion, more of a co-producer than he wants to admit, but it was such a long process, and there's a few minutes here and there, but I'd send him a mix that I would do, and he would give me a couple notes. It helped a lot. But then we got Bill Churchville involved with the record, and he's a great horn player, great arranger, and Jimmy brought him in. Jimmy plays saxophone and harmonica, and we've been together for years and years. And we played together with Rod Stewart back in 1979 or something like that, other life ago. But he brought it in. We were going to use him on one song on the "Meet the Boys on the Battlefront," which is an old traditional Mardi Gras song, and he did such a great job on that. I used him on 8 more songs out of 11. It's like, and so the horns are a big part of the record. And I'm hoping we get some gigs soon that I can afford to hire a whole section to really capture the record. But we ironed out a pretty good part for Jimmy to do, just on saxophone. You get the idea.
Mm-hmm. Let's go way, way, way back and talk about King Cake Party.
That seems like just the other day. Yeah, man, that was when it was the second record I made for this Japanese record company,
Mm-hmm.
and this time the first one was Doug Legacy and the Legend of the West, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was all because of the weird little 45 that I had done with Ry Cooder when I was working for Ry. And
Uh-huh.
but anyway, the second record, and they licensed it to a company called Pony Canyon. Oh, okay, this is all coming back to me now a little bit. Coming back to Mike Gorley, because Mike ended up licensing King Cake. Maybe that was that after or before Doug and the Mystics? It's all kind of a blur. But anyway, King Cake, I had been working for Jackson Browne, years before that, and somehow it became opportune to record the record at Jackson's studio. Well, mainly because I'd gotten I talked Jim Keltner into producing a couple songs, and we ended up producing more, but and that was actually the first record he'd ever produced, and it was awesome, and we were in a real studio, back then we had 2-inch tape, of course, and Ross Hogarth, who was the engineer who just recently did the Edgar Winter tribute album to his brother. And Ross has done a bunch of stuff since then. His career has gone through the roof. He's awesome. And Ross was back there, man. We were splicing 2-inch tape, man. I was like, wow, you really gonna do that? We had like Cooter come in and do a day of solos. We had Lindley come in a day of solos, and other than that, it was just the band. The first record I made, I wanted to have every rock star I ever worked for on it. It's all I'll sell 1,000,000 of these, but at that particular time, eclectic records really weren't selling. You had to have a theme. The record companies all going, we don't know how to promote this. It's too eclectic. It's totally, every song's different. So that's what I do. But anyway, I try to make a living. I've honed it in a little bit. Now I'm trying to spread out again. But King Cake was awesome, man. It was a lot of fun. We had Sid Straw come in and do some background vocals. She's a trip. And on this last record, we had Gia Chiambodi come in and do background vocals, and she was awesome. She sings with Bruce Springsteen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I didn't have to tell her a thing, man. She got like 7 songs knocked out in about 2 or 3 hours. It was magic.
What about Sitting on Top of the World?
Sitting on Top of the World, man. That's some of my favorite guys in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
We've after we did King Cake, we got a phone call from some crazy guy in Winterthur, Switzerland, that wanted us to open up for the Neville Brothers at this big festival in Winterthur, Switzerland, and that was a lot of fun, And out of that, I met some other promoters there that had me come back to do little festivals and clubs and stuff, mostly. Sometimes with my band, but sometimes me with some of those of my Swiss buddies there that I had, because I'd done, and long story short, I played a bunch of gigs in Switzerland since that happened. Just either with a band or just solo piano in a hotel on Lake Lucerne or something. Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Are you kidding? Go to Switzerland for a couple of weeks, and I got some stories about that too, boy. But so the guy that originally drove us around on one of our first tours after all that in Switzerland ended up putting a band together and then hired me to come back and play with him, and we've done it for years now. And the last time we did it was in the pandemic, and half of the tour got canceled. It was right at the beginning, and our biggest show in Austria they closed the doors. Can't come in. Can't come into Austria. And then all my ticket got revoked. And oh God. And I had a gig in LA, I thought. And so I somehow made it to London where you can still fly, and came back and got in my car, went to the gig, and they said, nope, gig's not happening. Go home and don't do anything for 2 years. So I made a record. Yeah, but back to the On Top of the World. That was the one of the times when I was there playing with all Swiss guys, and we jumped into a really nice studio with a killer piano in Switzerland somewhere, and I can't think of the name of it, of course, but made this record, and then I brought it back and added Jimmy Z to it and Waddy Wattel on a track, and then went back to Switzerland and mixed it, and it was very international and cosmopolitan and fun. It was not a big money maker, but it was a lot of fun to do.
Talk about working with Rod Stewart.
Rod was, when I first got to town in LA, and I had my little band running around playing for weird little funky gigs like we're still doing, trying to get somebody to notice us, to give us a deal or do something. I was tuning pianos for SIR, and they sent me over to tune pianos for rehearsals at SIR, or for no at the they were rehearsing at the where were they rehearsing? Anyway, after I was there for 3 or 4 days, they asked me to go on the road with them. I said sure, and then I somehow mentioned to them that I had steel drums, and they, oh wow, bring your steel drum down. You know, you got to bring us on the road. And they think I know I was playing steel drums and taking care of the keyboards, so that was fun. I did that for a couple tours. He was notoriously cheap, but it was still a lot of fun. I mean, it was back in the days, man, when they were throwing TVs and stuff out of windows in hotels and being stupid.
There you go.
It was really silly. Sometimes.
I have a Rod Stewart story. I remember it must have been way back in the 80s, but I remember Maggie May was playing on the radio, and I don't know what had happened, but the record was skipping, and Maggie May played for about 10 minutes, and I don't know where the DJ was, but every time I hear Maggie May now, I think of that, like it just kept going over the same
They were
verses over.
out in the back burning one. I'm telling you, man. You know, was it Pacifica station?
I don't remember now. It was one in town here, but I just remember Maggie Bay was skipping, and it would play these I'd say about 30-second lapses there, and then it would skip and it would play the same thing again. And so yeah,
Yeah,
Maggie May
I mean,
turned out
I lived with
long.
a bunch of disc jockeys, man. When I first started, you know, got out of when I first started my everything, you know. I mean, and my wife was a disc jockey for Pacifica, you know, and way back, you know, I mean, I used to listen to her on the radio when I was on my way to high school, and then ended up moving in with a bunch of disc jockeys after 1 year of college, and so I was heavily involved with all those disc jockeys, and we would do all these benefit gigs for them, and you know, those it's pretty wild stories. Hanging out with Towns Van Zandt and Guy Clark and all those, you know, Lucinda Williams and they were, you know, girl got him. What's his name? Anyway, that's a good times with radio stations. But,
There you go. Do you have any charities that you're involved with that you want to plug and promote on here?
oh man, um, Pacifica,
Mm-hmm.
support your local radio. You know, let's see. There's I wish I could think of the names of them like this second, but there are a couple that I do like to help out. You know, stuff for kids is great. You know, suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's you know, I got to tell you, there's not enough help for people with mental health problems. You know, um,
Yep. Oh, I know what you mean. I'm dealing with depression right now, so I understand that. Although I feel uplifted talking to you today, I'll tell you that.
oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You know, yeah, you know, we've all got our stuff that gets us blue. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I try to.
But you got a web page. Let's advertise that on here. Plug your web page. Where can people
Hey,
find you?
well, there's still the Zydeco Party Band, but I have a new website site
Mm-hmm.
called drsoundgood.net, and there's also douglegacy.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Absolutely.
know, Facebook I'm pretty active on, so just look for Doug Legacy. We
You
got a
know what?
new video you got to check out, man. Have you seen Pool Shark yet?
You know what? I haven't seen that, but it has come up in my feed, so I am going to have to get that video and play it. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. Talk about making that video.
Oh well, that I did that with my buddy Harry Katz, who has a band called Harry Katz and Pistachios. And he did a video for my daughter, which she writes country western stuff that's really great. And her video was pretty successful. She got her on some, little station, video station, Nashville or something, and but I just love what he did. So and I got him to do mine, and we ended up doing a show together, me and him and Tom Kenny, who is the voice of SpongeBob. He's got a
Oh,
great
there you
band.
go. Uh-huh.
And we just did a show at the Zebulon nearby that we sold out. It was a lot of fun. But the video was really cool. We found this cool place. And
Mm-hmm.
what the deal was, when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of money. And so I did a lot of various jobs. And one of them, I was a shoe shine boy. And I was across the street from a pool hall, so I spent a lot of time in the pool hall. And so I wrote this song years ago, and I did a version of it actually with David Lindley once, and it's a pretty cool version. But we just started jamming on this song, but when we started working, we weren't really even working on a quote unquote record. I just wanted to play the song with these guys, and they said, "Oh, we got to record that," and and we changed it up. But anyway, so Pool Sharks, kind of a personal autobiographical song for me, and and the video came out really great. I got a buddy of mine called Princess Frank, plays the pool shark. Don't yeah, well plays the pool shark, and I'm the older guy who's the older pool shark. Trying to take care of it, and Princess is also a shoe shine boy. So the older pool shark is trying to take advantage of the other guy, and it gets his ass kicked. But we found this really cool place in downtown LA, owned by this crazy Hungarian, and he's like big space. A couple huge stages and a couple weird rooms full of crazy stuff, and a couple pool tables. So it was like a perfect place to shoot the video, and it was a wham bam, thank you ma'am kind of thing. It came out really nice, and so far we got about 10,000 hits. So there you go.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you come on here today and talk about this. I just sent you a friend's request on Facebook, so
Oh, thanks. All right.
yeah, yeah.
All the
When
friends I can get.
There you go. Well, you know what? When this is ready, I'll send you the link and you can post it. It'll be unlisted for a while because I put them uh um public gradually, but when I do send you the link, you get permission to post it.
Oh, cool.
Yep, yep, absolutely. So yes, well, you know what? It was wonderful having you on here today. This has been wonderful, and I look forward to seeing what you do next. I think my last question I would have for you is, where was your favorite place you've ever performed?
Oh man. Um, well, it kind of depends on whether you're talking about, the setting or the gig. Probably my favorite gig was when I got to play with Paul McCartney one time. And
Oh, wow.
it was at Paramount Studios. It was a benefit for PETA, which is one of my favorite charities, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, we were it was we were the band was incredible. I mean, it was the guitar player was David Gilmour, from Pink Floyd, and
Yep.
the drummer Ian Pace from Deep Purple, and it was that kind of band. And of course everybody.
Quite a collage.
Yeah, and I ran into Jeff Lynne that night, who I'd worked for ELO when I was real young too, and he came up and hey Dougie, what are you doing? Wow, you finally hit the big time. I said, well, not really, but it was great. It was one of those. I partying with Woody Harrelson that night, and I mean it was one of those great gigs. But one of the some of the prettiest places I've ever played have been like these funky little clubs in Switzerland, man, and on mountaintops and stuff, but I've had some pretty cool times. But
There you
man,
go.
listen, you keep your chin up, don't be too blue. Is it? Are you in a place where it's like nighttime for days, for months and stuff, or
What's
what's going
that?
on? Where you're at right now, is that a place where it's like it stays dark for months and stuff, or
No, no.
no? No.
I'm actually 4 hours ahead of you, so
Okay.
yeah, I'm in Atlantic Canada. Hopefully,
Okay.
eventually, hoping to move to Toronto. I'd love to move to Toronto, but right now I'm kind of stuck here right now. But
Well,
nonetheless, still doing
I,
this, and
I salute any medical worker, man. I mean, that's a noble occupation, and I really appreciate your work, man. Whatever you're doing.
I do housekeeping there, so I keep the place cleaned up, So
Important.
yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
I would love to do a plug for your show. Let me go find a keyboard and I'll play a song while we do it or something silly like that.
Oh, there you go. I
Yeah,
love that idea. That's different.
yeah. I'm gonna take you down to the studio real quick here.
There you go.
What's the name of the show?
Python's Paradise. I'm D.
Python.
Yeah, Python, like the snake.
Okay,
I-
Python's
I'm 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 DJ Python.
cool.
There you
All
go.
right.
Getting a nice
Okay.
tour here.
Yeah, we're coming down into the man cave of this, the place where it all happens.
Oh, there you go. Look at that piano.
Yeah, this is my killer piano.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened to my. What happened here? Did I lose you? Oh no! Come on, get back,
I can
get
still
back.
hear you. I can still hear
Oh,
you.
oh, I lost the feed somehow. Let's see. What am I doing wrong? Okay, well, you can still hear me.
I can still hear you. Yep.
Come on down to paradise. Come on down to paradise.
Yeah. Kind of was scratchy coming through there because you're kind of paused on screen there.
Let me see what's going on here. What did I do wrong?
I think it was, I don't know whether the way you moved or whatever, but
Well, I had
no,
to use
there
my.
you go. There you go.
Okay, I got it back. Let's see. What if I put it like this?
Okay,
All right.
there you go.
Down the back boys nice. Python's paradise. Whoa. Once or twice. Python's paradise. Woo! Come on down to Python's paradise.
Doug, what a great way to end the show. Loved having you on here today. And I want to say a special thanks to Mike Gormley for connecting us. And I wish you well. And I hope that things pan out even better for you, after all the pandemic affected all of us.
Yeah, no, I'm optimistic.
Well, I worked through the pandemic, so but still financially it set me back. I think it set so many people back. So but anyway, God bless you and thank you so much for allowing me the honor today.
God bless you too, brother. And thank you, sir. I had a lot of fun.
I did too. It was wonderful.
Take
You take
care.
care, man.
Keep in
Bye-bye.
touch. Bye.
You too. Thank you.